I'm with Diane Nelson from Bridge to Jerusalem. Now, Diane, what is Bridge to Jerusalem?
It is a small ministry of the Journey Church in Oregon, and it is a ministry that focuses on supporting the Jewish people and the Jewish state with the focus on relationships.
Now, just recently, you stood with the victims of the Boulder, Colorado terror attack. Remind us what happened there on that day.
Okay, well, it started with this organization called Run for Their Lives. It's a national organization. It has chapters in 35 states, and they host weekly runs and walking events with the purpose to bring attention to the Israeli hostages taken in the October 7th terror attack. And there's actually even a chapter here. I've gone on a couple of those walks, and one of the people who participates in our local chapter has a family member who is being held hostage. So it's a small world. But their focus is not on anything political. It's only to focus on bringing the people home and reminding the world that there are people who still need to be brought home. So on June 2nd, a chapter of the Run for Their Lives group in Boulder, Colorado, had assembled, and they just stand with posters that have images of the hostages, and they don't engage in any political talk. That's one of their rules. They just stand quietly and they don't react to any inflammatory remarks or anyway. So they were standing there in front of the courthouse on June 2nd, and a terrorist arrived with a backpack that he had weed sprayer that was filled with flammable liquid, and he had a black plastic container filled with 18 glass bottles and jars full of flammable liquid, several rags stuffed through the top to act as a wick. And he approached the group and threw two of these Molotov cocktails, which he united. He threw them at the group while shouting, "Free Palestine."
Wow, wow. I imagine there was lots of victims and many people were burned.
Well, there were 29 victims. These are 29 people who were there that day. Most of them, I think the age range was like 50 to 88. So they were just older people. And of the 29 victims who were there and targeted, one of them also had their pet dog. So 13 suffered physical injury from the fire, including the dog. And one person said what they saw was a big flame that went up as high as a tree. And then one of the other marchers remembers that, the first thing he saw was someone start on fire. One of the people who was injured, who is still recovering from her burns, is an 88-year-old Holocaust survivor. And one person did die, an 82-year-old woman. She died from her injuries.
Wow, wow. So what did you decide to do after this?
Well, so I was watching one of the news videos, and it was an interview with, some of the people. And so, as I say, Bridge to Jerusalem is all about relationships. So when I watched this, I was just, I don't know what word to use. I just felt overwhelmed, overcome by the grief of this and the horribleness of it. And I just wanted to do something, but what do you do? I'm in Oregon, they're in Colorado. But then I remembered that I have a friend who's a member of the Jewish community in Boulder. And I thought, okay, so I had the idea to send an email to the supporters of my ministry here in the US and ask them to join a project to support. And so my idea was that my supporters would send a personalized card or note of encouragement, sign a little message, a Bible verse. I did ask them to not do any proselytizing because our Jewish friends definitely are not interested in that. But just, as fellow family members in the family of the one true God, to send love. So I asked them to invite their friends or anyone they might know, and then to mail me the cards within a week because I wanted to get these cards to the victims as soon as possible. So sure enough, within a week, I had cards from all around the United States sent to me. And one person even had a custom flag made with stars of David that he wanted to give to the group. So it was very nice. I had enough response where I could send a little gift bag to each survivor. And so then I contacted my friend in Boulder, and she said she actually is a member of that group. She just happened to not go on the march that day, but she said she would be happy to take the package and deliver it. So I sent it to her, and she did the delivery.
It must have been exciting getting responses from people all around America to send to these people.
It was very heartwarming. And because, people get so busy, they don't even open emails anymore. And who buys cards and writes notes and pays like almost $1 for, I mean, it's not a big deal, but it is a big deal. People went out of their way because they wanted to connect. And the people obviously on my mailing list are people who are interested in love, showing love to the Jewish people. So it was good for them to be able to share their love. It was very nice. Yeah.
What did you have on your note?
Well, so in each so I sent this box, and in the box were like 30 or 33 little gift bags. And I get kind of carried away. Paul, you know that when I give you Christmas stuff. So anyway, I'm like, well, I want it to be more than just a card, it's like just something like a little hug. So in each bag was the card. And then I had a little Bible verse card, and then I had some little gifts that I made, like a leather Star of David that can be hung up, and just some little like pro-Israel stuff. And I found some specialty chocolate bars because, chocolate is important. And then I just sent a little note, and let me read the little note. It said, "Dear friends in Boulder, I love the Jewish people and try to help them in different ways as much as I can. So immediately following the terrible trauma that you recently experienced, I contacted those on my small mailing list and invited them to join me in a show of support for you. People from several states contributed to the packet of love you hold in your hands. We want you to know that you are not alone. We are for you. And most importantly, the King of Heaven's armies is for you. I pray that he will comfort, heal, and fill you with his perfect shalom."
So you sent all these off to them. Did you hear a response back from them?
Yes, I got some emails because I had my address for them. So I did get some emails and some cards. Here, I'll read you this one card. Dear Diana, I was a Jewish tourist in Boulder and went on the march for our hostages. It is important that the remaining 50 are not forgotten. I was so touched by the gift bags you organized and your thoughtfulness. Thank you so much for your support and caring. It is reassuring to know that there are those people out there who stand by us throughout this darkness. May all our hopes and prayers be answered.
Wow,
So
wow.
that was kind of a sample.
It's shocking, isn't it, that this peaceful event, which was just trying to raise awareness for the Israeli hostages in Gaza, that this sort of thing should happen to them.
Yes, it's part of the insanity, the darkness that is in our world. So they did arrest the guy. I
Mm,
mean, he was there and he actually also got burned. Maybe that's what stopped him and had to go to the hospital before they took him to jail. But his name is Mohammed Solomon, and he is an Egyptian citizen who actually overstayed his visa here and has been residing in our country illegally. So the police found a handwritten document in his car. Let me read it. It said, Zionism is our enemies until Jerusalem is liberated and they are expelled from our land. And he talked about how Israel is a cancer entity. And then they found that on his social media, he is a supporter of a leader of the Muslim Brotherhood
mm.
who has ties to terrorist groups. He told police that he had tried to buy a gun, but he couldn't because he was here illegally. And he said that he wasn't sorry, that he would do it again if he was released and had the opportunity.
Wow.
So he is facing life in prison. So I guess he won't be deported. He'll be getting 3 hots and a cot for the rest of his life. But he is facing charges both in the state and federal court. Of course, also a murder charge along with all that. I think it's like over 180 charges, but
Wow.
his trials aren't until 2026. And then also, his family was here with him illegally. I'm thinking, if I remember, he had like 5 kids. Anyway, they are being held in an immigration detention center while they go through the deportation process.
It must be very scary for the Jews at the moment in America, especially when we just seen what just happened in Manchester. It seems to be a very similar incident in one way. We've got a guy called Jihad who was a British citizen but was actually originally from Syria, and he does this attack in a synagogue at a synagogue in Manchester. Are Jews really scared at the moment?
I think so. I mean, everyone that I talk to, whether they're in Israel or the US, they are like, this is horrible. You know, there's always been this sensitivity because anti-Semitism has never, ever, ever gone away. But these days, it's really bad. I was researching when, I knew I was going to be talking to you to see exactly what's been going on right by me in the Pacific Northwest. I mean, I know of things that have gone on in Oregon. So I'm near Portland. And at one of our main universities, there was an incident where protesters occupied the library for 3 days. They caused over $1 million worth of damage.
Wow.
And then there was another incident where this was last year, anti-Israel activists broke into the Portland Police Bureau training facility and they set fires and set fires to like a dozen police cars. And then also last year, some anarchists set a rail train bridge on fire. And 3 synagogues across Oregon have been targeted by bomb threats. And then lots of little things like businesses that might seem to support Israel, like Starbucks, they've been targeted. So I looked up on the ADL website, the Anti Defamation League website. And it was, of course, they do say that since October 7th, these types of attacks have gone wild. But I didn't realize that one of the most extreme anti Israel groups in the region is, I don't know if I'll pronounce this right, Samadon, Samidoun. Have you ever heard of that group?
No, no.
Well, apparently they are a U.S. designated terror organization, and they're an arm of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine.
Wow.
And they're organizing a lot of the anti Israel events. And of course, the anti Semitism rhetoric gets blended with the anti Israel issue. So they are actually behind a lot of attacks that are going on in the Hope West, Seattle, and I mean, Washington and Oregon. So it's like, well, your question was, are the Jewish people afraid? I read an article about in the Knesset, I've read it. They did a survey, the Hebrew University did a survey about for Israelis living abroad because it's like, okay, how scared are they? Should they return to Israel? Should they stay abroad? In the survey, 80% of the respondents said they do not intend to return to Israel, even though they feel unsafe in their current countries of residence. And then this is really telling 70% of those polled reported that they have significantly changed their behavior in public since October 7th, meaning they don't necessarily display their Jewish symbols or speak Hebrew. They've removed mezuzahs from their doorposts. They go out less. And I just thought, how similar is this to what happened in the rise of Nazi Germany? I mean, the Jewish people were afraid. They modified their behaviors, but they stayed where they were, hoping for the best, not even, not imagining the worst. Now they can imagine the worst because they've been through it. So it's like they're afraid, but the Jewish people, and I can't speak for the Jewish people, like I talked to maybe 20 of them, so I'm not the best resource, but the picture that I get from what I read and then what I hear is people, the Jewish people in Israel, they feel safer there, but they don't feel safer there because, of your neighbor. The neighbors are all ready to kill them at any moment. But yet they feel safer there because the Jewish state, the mission is to keep them safe. So then outside of there, do they want to go back to Israel? Well, maybe not necessarily because of all the neighbors who are trying to kill them, but yet, they don't feel safe here. So I just think it's I can't even imagine how it is for them struggling with their fear, their targets of just insane hatred. That was a really long answer to your question.
What is your prayer for Jews all around the world? Are you praying for them to go back to Israel?
My prayer for them, I kind of have two prayers. One is the Lord's Prayer. I pray that for them. And then the second is a more simple prayer. I don't know if you're familiar with the Chris Tomlin song. I think it's Your Grace is Enough, but the song lyrics are my prayer for them. So remember your people, remember your children, remember your promise, oh God.
What's your website for people who'd like to know more about the work that you do?
Bridge2Jerusalem.net. That's a number two. And then let me throw in another website that's really good for people who want to know what the truth is about all of this mess. And it's the Stand With Us organization. And so their website is standwithus.co.
Well, Diane, thank you very much for sharing today.
Thank you for inviting me and thank you for your hard work over there. You're doing an amazing, amazing job.